Everyone, welcome to our weekly show here at Ask a Lawyer Live. I'm Dave Brannen here at Resolute Employment and Disability Lawyers. Today we're going to be talking about CPP disability. I'm going to do a short presentation and then we'll move into question and answer. I'll also do some reviewing of questions on our online forum, but certainly if you have any questions, just put them in the chat and I will answer them in order. Let's dive into our topic today, which is going to be CPP disability versus CPP retirement. This presentation is focused on people who are approaching age 60 and are contemplating whether they should just apply for CPP retirement or if they should apply for CPP disability benefits. Now, let's just go through each of them here. So let's talk about CPP retirement. This is a basic Canada Pension Plan benefit that most people are familiar with. You're eligible to start as early as age 60. However, every month that you get CPP retirement before age 65, your monthly payment is reduced by 0.6%. Now, that doesn't sound like a whole lot, but over 5 years, that adds up to 36%, a 36% reduction. So let me give you an example. If you were entitled to $1,000 as a CPP retirement at age 65, if you started taking that benefit at age 60, it would only equal $640. That's $640. So it would be a $360 loss per month for the rest of your life. So, or however long you continue to get CPP retirement, which would be the rest of your life. So just keep that in mind. It's quite a reduction to take an early CPP retirement benefit. Now let's take a look at CPP disability. CPP disability is available to people under age 65 who meet the severe and prolonged disability requirements. It's a higher payment than you get for CPP retirement. So while your CPP retirement might be $1,000 a month, your CPP disability could be like $1,600 a month. So the CPP disability is a higher payment. Keep that in mind as well. And the CPP retirement or CPP disability automatically converts over to CPP retirement when you turn age 60. So what you get the best of both worlds. You get a higher payment from age 60 to age 65 if you take the CPP disability. And then at age 65, it automatically converts over to the CPP retirement, and you're not getting a 36% reduction for taking the CPP retirement early. Now, the key differences in the two is that the CPP disability is based on your, CPP retirement is based on your age and contributions, whereas CPP disability is based on medical eligibility. So you have to have the severe and prolonged and also your contributions. But the key thing to keep in mind is that CPP disability does pay much more per month than CPP retirement. All right, so at age 60, you have a big decision. Should you apply for CPP disability? Should you apply for CPP retirement? You can only apply for CPP disability if you actually meet the medical requirements. So for some people, this just won't be an option. But if disability is part of the issue while you're thinking of leaving work and just getting your CPP retirement, then you really should be thinking about getting CPP disability. The problem if you take the CPP retirement, it can get you stuck with this lower monthly payment for the rest of your life. That's something you definitely want to try to avoid. Now, something that comes up from time to time is people apply for their CPP retirement first, and then they learn later, oh, wow, I should have applied for CPP disability. Now, you can still apply for CPP disability. There is like I believe it's 15-month window where you can still apply for CPP disability if you've already started your CPP retirement. However, you can only do this if you can prove that your disability started before you started getting the CPP retirement benefits. And it's harder to win approval in these cases, and the money that you get from CPP disability will go back to paying back what you've already taken out for CPP retirement. So this can result in a situation where instead of getting a CPP disability back pay, a lot of that money is going to go to refund what you've already taken out for your CPP retirement. Now there's another thing. There's another option. So if you become, let's say you go at age 60, you get the CPP retirement, but somewhere between age 60 and age 65 that you have a disability onset. Let's just say like you continued working, but you decided to also get your CPP retirement. Like you can get your CPP retirement and still keep working. Um, Now, what happens if you get your CPP retirement? You're still working a little bit, but then you have a disability that puts you out of work completely. Well, you can apply for something called the CPP Post-Retirement Disability Benefit. Now, this is not as good as getting CPP disability benefits. It's a smaller fixed payment that you get, but it is something if you are unable to work and your disability onset starts after the it starts after you turned or after you started getting your disability benefits and you're past that 15-month window where you're allowed to go back and try to get CPP disability. All right. Now, if you just want to compare the CPP disability payment, CPP post-retirement benefit, the big difference is that CPP disability is a higher payment and the post-retirement one is just a supplement and it's much lower. So you're going to get way more money getting the CPP disability benefit rather than the post-retirement benefit. Again, the post-retirement benefit is only available to people between age 60 to 65 who've already got their CPP retirement and then either become disabled and want to apply for CPP disability before age 65. The application process is very similar. It's just you get approved for the post-retirement benefit, not the CPP disability benefit. Now, just some practical tips. You should apply always for CPP disability if possible. If you're eligible, that's the way you should go. You don't want to rush into early retirement because it takes away a lot of your options. Once you go down that path, it's very hard to reverse it. It's possible if you can get your CPP application going within 15 months, but once you have that locked in, you're going to lose out in the long run because as soon as you start getting CPP retirement at age 60, you're going to lose that 36% of your benefits. And over the course of 10 years or so, that's going to be a lot of money out the window. You should, if now I have here consult a lawyer or advocate. Consult a lawyer or advocate if you are thinking that you want to know if you would qualify for CPP disability. But really, if this is a financial decision, sometimes there's some way that it makes financial sense for you to take a CPP early. You have to take advice from someone who's qualified in financial planning to know what makes the most sense for your financial situation. So I can't give you that type of advice. The only advice I could give you is whether you might qualify for CPP disability at age 60. And generally speaking, that it's known to everyone that getting early, if you take your CPP retirement early at age 60, you're going to take a big reduction. Okay, I'm just kind of repeating myself here a little bit, but CPP disability pays more. These are my key takeaways. Early retirement can complicate your disability claim, and the post-retirement benefit is a safety net, but you're better off trying to get, so that's the post-retirement CPP disability benefit. You're better off getting the regular just CPP disability benefit if you can. Now, if you need help with the CPP disability claim, you should reach out to our firm through free consultations. You can get those through our website, or down in the description below, there is a link that will take you to a page where you can request a consultation. You can also just phone in our law firm during our business hours. You can download a copy of my book on CPP disability. I've got a couple books on CPP disability. The links to get those are down in the description area. And you can always visit our Resolute Legal website for more information as well. Our new website apparently is going live tomorrow. We'll see. Hopefully, cross my fingers, without a bug, without any problems. You'll see a new website tomorrow by the end of the day, hopefully. And that's all. So let's dive into our Q&A. I don't see anyone with any questions yet, so I'll give it a little bit of time. In the meantime, though, I'm going to go, and I found it quite useful to use this time to answer questions on our forum. So for those of you who may not know, we have something called the Canadian Disability Claim Forum. This is a forum that I sponsor and moderate. I'm going to go here right now. Just give me a second. Just share my screen. Here we go. So let's go take a peek here and see. I've got 6 unread questions. We were doing these on Thursday, and I said I'd try to finish them off this week. So let's dive in. We got a question here around the CPP payment explanation. Let's see what this one's all about. This is the question here. So let's take a look. I was approved for CPPD in March. This week, my insurance company emailed me asking for a CPP payment explanation statement. In looking into this, it sounds like they should have mailed me something. I haven't received anything about this. I got an email at some point saying I was approved with the decision document, but not an explanation of payment. Yeah. I also haven't started receiving payment yet. My insurance company said in order to avoid any further overpayment, we will begin deducting CPP disability benefits beginning blah, 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 which I find extremely concerning because I haven't got any payment yet. Yeah. Added note for David Brannen. Here we go. Is there anything that can be done about... Okay, sorry. They're talking about some other issues there. All right. So the question here is about what to do. So when you're approved for CPP disability, what happens is that you are given something called a payment explanation statement. This person is saying they haven't gotten theirs yet, and they're just wondering what happens. So normally that will be mailed to you once they're ready to do the deposit of your money, once they processed it all. Sometimes you will get the approval letter, the notice of approval letter earlier before they finished in the back end doing all the approvals to, the money approvals and all that stuff. So you're not going to get the money approvals until the CPP, you won't get the payment explanation until they've processed all of your claim and are ready to start to pay the lump sum payment. That should come in the mail as well. You can always reach out to Service Canada and ask them to get you a copy of it. But it's a very useful document. The insurance company wants to see it as well. They will, because they can double check that the insurance company will give information to, if you've authorized them to talk to CPP disability, the insurance company will tell them the months that the overpayments would happen, and then Service Canada can figure it out and pay the money directly to the insurance. If that's not in place, then the insurance company will want to see that payment explanation statement so they can tell you how much that you need to pay back to them for the overpayment. All right. Let's see what else we got here. Let's go to my unreads. CPP disability review and how often? All right, let's see. This looks like an old one. Yeah, this is an old one. 2019. Wow, that is old. So what are the new questions that people are adding on to this? Let's go down to the bottom here. Okay, well, let's go to the top here. It looks like people are just continuing to answer it. So this one said, I heard somewhere that once approved for CPP disability, it is for life and they will leave you alone. Sounds like too good to be true. Can one expect reviews and how often? Okay, this is the perfect kind of question that you could ask here in this forum. People in the forum, we're going to give you a broad range of experience, whereas I have my own take on this, but it's better to hear from people who have all been dealing with this. Now, the general question, the general answer here, someone clipped, I must have answered this somewhere else and Jammer has clipped it here, but there's no such thing as approved for life. Any CPP, any disability approval is always subject to ongoing proof of continuing disability. Now, sometimes, given the nature of your disability, maybe it's impossible that there could ever be an improvement. However, with some types of disability, there can still be improvements over time. CPP Disability does review claims, not as actively as insurance companies, but they definitely still review. Now, I'm just seeing what people have to say here. Yeah. The other thing too is CPP disability is not for life, like we just mentioned a minute ago. It only goes to age 65. But maybe I think what this person said is they just leave you alone until age 65. Now, this person says in my case, they reassess in 10 years. That might be, this person might be actually talking about the disability tax credit. It's normal for the disability tax credit to be reassessed every 10 years. I've not heard that for CPP disability, but I don't know. Okay, and I say here, the only thing that is sure in life are death and taxes. Yeah. So this is an answer like I just gave here, I guess. When people get reviewed, like you're more likely to be reviewed for CPP disability if people putting complaints against you, like a former ex-spouse who's wants a grudge and is reports you as a fraud, or a neighbor who's angry with you and reports you as a fraud. Some of these things can sometimes trigger a review or surveillance and that kind of thing. But other than that, they will assess the type of medical condition you have and your age. Like if you're young and you have a condition that could improve, then they will follow up from time to time, I've heard. All right, let's go back here and see what else we have. Let's see what else we have here. Unread. Disability while traveling abroad. This comes up all the time. All the time. All right, let's go up and see what they say. I have disability benefits through Canada Life. I'm working physically in Canada, but fell ill while traveling abroad. Situation is emerging such that getting treatment abroad is a better option, but for disability paychecks, I need Canada Life. Will Canada Life accept documentation from foreign doctors? P.S. My province is backlogged and hence I do not have a committee Canadian doctor. This doesn't sound like a good idea. It does not sound like a good idea to try to get treatment abroad and try to get approved for disability benefits in Canada. The insurance companies are not going to like this at all. So I would stress to this person that if they really want to rely on the Canada Life, they should get back to Canada and try to get treatment. Yeah. But I'm interested to see what other people say. Policies, the other thing to look at is what policies say, your insurance policy says about your residency and about travel abroad. Many of these insurance policies will have restrictions on how long you can reside out of Canada, but some of them will even say they don't even have to approve benefits if you're outside of Canada. There's nothing to say like an insurance company won't accept medical evidence from a doctor outside of Canada. That's the separate issue on whether they would agree that you are going to reside out of Canada, get treatment there, and then process a disability claim here. I just don't see them wanting to do that. It's a different situation if you just happen to be out of the country and get ill and have medical treatment while you're pending coming back home. That is a different situation. They will accept the medical records, but they're just not going to like a situation where you're intending to reside out of Canada for the purpose of getting treatment. They usually will deny benefits in these kind of cases. Yeah. All right. I'm just seeing if there's any other things here that are interesting. Some talk about whether the insurance will accept nurse practitioners. They often do. It depends on the wording of the policy, but it's become more of a reality now that primary care providers are often nurse practitioners, and insurance companies are kind of coming around to that idea. But again, it does depend on the wording of your policy and how flexible your insurer is going to be on that. 4 left. Let's see. What else do we have here? No denial, but they stopped payment. Okay, I know what I tell people who ask me this. It says here, I've actually had this situation before with a different insurance company prior to my current one. I attempted to return to work in a less responsible, demanding position, but ended up going off again. So I think this might be an issue others have faced. What is your recourse when the insurance company won't pay you, either for a period of time, for arbitrary reasons, or until you do XYZ, but they aren't actually sending a denial letter? I feel like I'm a bit in no man's land. Can I appeal or sue without a denial, but I'm not being paid? 100%. I always tell people, if you are not being paid, your claim is denied. You don't need a letter. Like, there's a contract. The contract says you pay the premiums, and if you're disabled, then you get paid the money. If you are not being paid the money, that is a breach of contract. Now, there is a window of time that it's reasonable for you not to be paid in order for the insurance company to investigate. But if they're saying, like, we've investigated and will not approve your claim unless you do XYZ, they're denying your claim at that point. Okay, so that there is a bit of a game that's going on. Now, you can go do the thing that they're asking, which I always recommend people do. But at the end of the day, if they're putting arbitrary things out there for you to do this, and if you do that, they'll do this other thing, your claim is being denied, and you should start the appeal. Formally put in an appeal to say that you disagree. Yeah. Okay, this person's got a lot of details in here. Yeah, like I said, this is me here responding. My position always is, if you're not being paid, your claim is denied, whether they have put it in writing or not, 100%. There we go. Okay, let's go have a look at the next one. Let me keep a peek here. Okay, no questions in the chat. If anyone has questions, you're free to put them there. Otherwise, I'm going to keep answering these questions. Let's go back here. All right, this person says, this is an old post, but it's the exact same question I have right now. I have received notice from my insurer that they will be reassessing my case soon in order to decide whether they can approve my LTD beyond the 2-year mark. They have acknowledged I have multiple conditions and only require updates from my doctor. So all in all, they left me alone, and I do think they will approve me after the change of definition. So now I'm thinking of applying for CPP Disability. At least that way I am paying into my CPP contributions if I am approved. Not quite, but it is the same effect. You're not paying into CPP contributions, but you would be having these years where you're not contributing will be taken out of the assessment of your CPP Disability Benefit and CPP Retirement Benefit. So it will help you in the long run. Okay, let's see what this person's saying here. So last paragraph. So CPP Disability gives me 2 options. Have my insurance company share my case file with them, or have a doctor complete the form. Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah. I tell people to do both. I think give them the insurance file and have your doctor write a letter. Sometimes you need your doctor to write a letter to clarify things. The insurance company file will not always approve you for CPP Disability because they're very fixated on your ability to do your own occupation. A lot of the evidence will be around your own occupation, whereas CPP is focused on any occupation. But if you're to the point where you're being approved to any occupation for CPP or for long-term disability, that will generally also help you with your CPP disability claim. But if it were me, like if I'm representing someone, I never would just send in I would never just send in only the long-term disability file. I would definitely send it in, but I would want to see it. And then I would decide, should we have the family doctor clarify anything? But I think in almost all situations, I tell people send in the long-term disability file. I know there's a thought out there like, well, what if there's stuff in there from the insurance company that goes against me that's not helpful? Like, why would I want to give that to CPP Disability? The answer to that is that, like, because there's some people want to cherry pick the information that goes into Service Canada. So, for example, they would get the long-term disability file, but they would take out any documents that were against them and give like only the supporting information to Service Canada. That is a mistake. In fact, I had to withdraw from representing a client once because I refused to do that. So I think you're better off giving all the good and the bad. They're lawyers, but the judges, the tribunal members at the Social Security Tribunal, they're smart. They're lawyers. They know what's going on. They can sometimes tell if you've been trying to cherry pick out information. It just hurts your credibility. Also, having negative information that you can explain, or it isn't always bad. It will give you more credibility because that's more realistic that there could be different views on your situation. So I would just urge people to not cherry pick, send in the good and the bad, and just deal with it. I've had much more success with sending in the whole file than not sending it at all. So let's just say you don't send in the long-term disability insurance file. Some of the tribunal judges will wonder, maybe they're not sending it in because it has bad things, and they will assume the worst if you're not sending it in. So I recommend send in the whole long-term disability file in most situations. Again, I'd want to see your case before I would recommend anything to a specific person, but generally speaking, I'm much in favor of sending the whole thing. Okay. So the people are giving different advice here. Okay. No, it's just a bunch of info. All right, let's see what else we got here. We got 2 left. Okay. This one I might not be able to answer because I've seen this question come up a bunch of times. Receiving company pension and CPP disability. It says, hello, just wondering if someone could please let me know the answer to this. I will be turning 55 in July. Am I able to get my company pension at 55? Will taking a company pension reduce my monthly CPP disability check? This would be in Ontario. The answer to that is it's very hard to answer questions about pensions without knowing everything about the pension. These pensions have all kinds of things. Generally speaking, nothing reduces your CPP disability benefit. Okay. It is paid out. It can affect other things, but unless you're earning employment income, that is the only thing that will affect your CPP disability payment. Everything else will not. However, having CPP disability and getting your pension could affect your pension in some way, depending on how the pension is structured. Some of them have different components of pensions. If you're getting CPP disability, there can be bridging. It can require you to apply to the medical component of your pension. So there's all kinds of complications around getting your pension when you're on CPP disability and have a disability. So that is what I try to tell people, to make sure you look into all of the options when you're applying for a pension. I've had people come to us who have applied for their pension and they apply for their regular pension, not their medical pension, whereas generally speaking, it is advantageous if your pension has a medical option. It's usually better to get that than apply for your regular pension if you can qualify for the medical one. For a variety of reasons, just know that as a general idea, that is correct. It may not mean that in your situation that it makes most sense to do that. You have to assess it case by case. But as a general rule, getting a medical pension is better if you have the option as opposed to getting the regular retirement. Just like we talked today about why getting CPP disability is a better option than getting CPP retirement if you can. If you can, get the CPP disability, prolong getting the retirement as long as possible. The same thing happens with pensions. Getting the medical component early is usually better than getting the retirement component early. All right. Okay, let's go back. Last question. Let's see what we got here. All right, here we go. Manulife is forcing me to apply for CPP Disability, or they will reduce my benefits by an estimate. Yes. This is something that can be done by insurance companies because your group policy, in this case would be Manulife, these group policies almost always have wording in there that allows the insurer to estimate and deduct what someone would be entitled to receive from another benefit provider, like workers' compensation, CPP disability. And what happens is the insurer will say, here, we want you to apply for CPP disability. If you don't do it by this date, we're going to start estimating, deducting what you would get. And they will do that. And sometimes they're more rigid on it than others. They will simply say, we think your CPP would be $1,200 a month. And we're just going to start reducing your benefit, your disability benefit, by $1,200 a month, even though you're not getting it. So that can be a real problem, obviously, because you now are getting $1,200 less a month, and you're not getting any money coming in from CPP disability. What I recommend to people is you just have to apply for CPP disability quickly when the insurance company asks you to. Otherwise, they will start doing this deduction. Now, if they do the deduction, they do square it up later on. They square up the amounts later on. They're only estimating. If they overestimate the amount, then you will get paid back money. If they underestimate the amount, then they will still collect back more from your CPP disability. But if they're taking money out, if they're estimating and deducting, that means when you do get your CPP disability, you'll keep more of the retroactive payment that you get. Now, the problem with that is if you're delaying doing the application, then you are limiting the past benefits that you could get from your lump sum payment from CPP disability. I've talked about that on other episodes. Delaying your application at a certain point will mean that every month that goes by, you lose a month of retroactive payment that you otherwise would have gotten. And so that now becomes a problem with long-term disability, because if they're estimating deducting and if it applies to those months, then you are really just out, you're losing. You won't get the money back from CPP. So definitely apply for disability quickly if the insurance company asks you. Talk to your insurance company and see if they can hook you up with an advocate. Most of the big insurance companies now have deals with advocacy companies where these companies have deals with the insurance company that they will represent people in these disability claims. Generally speaking, you're better off working with someone who has experience with the system than trying to do it on your own. So if you're not going to get a lawyer, then you're better off getting advocates. Some advocates are quite good. Some are terrible. Some lawyers are very good. Some lawyers are terrible. So you may not have a lot of flexibility on who to choose if the insurance company is paying, but generally it's going to be better to have someone helping you than have no one. I believe that's it. Are we done? We are done. Oh, one more unread. Oh, it's this one. I guess I just didn't scroll around enough. Okay. Alrighty. Okay, we have a question here. Let's take a peek. Let me just remove that. We have a question. Is there any chance of an update on the Canada Disability Benefit? Well, let's look right now. I'm waiting I'll do an update as soon as new information comes out, but I don't think there's been anything new. I'm just looking at my computer here, Googling. No, I don't see anything new. Nothing new since I last talked a few weeks ago. What we're waiting on right now for the Canada Disability Benefit, we're waiting to find out when's the application process going to start. And we're waiting on provinces like Ontario is the main one to confirm that they're not going to deduct, that getting the Canada Disability Benefit is not going to affect your ODSP income and medical benefits. That's what we're waiting to hear. But I will do, as soon as there's anything to update, I will do the update. It should happen soon. I believe in May. Obviously, in May, we're going to have to hear how the application works, because the applications are supposed to start in June. I think the applications will be done through My Service Canada website, and it will be an online application. That's what I think, but don't know for sure. That was what makes the most sense. All right, folks, I'm going to call it a day. I'm going to be, so tomorrow, I am intending to do a show tomorrow, but I'm also on call with our website all day to make sure the launch goes. So depending on how that goes, I may have to cancel tomorrow's show. We'll see. I'm hoping that it won't, but the company I'm dealing with are out of Vancouver, so they work on different time. They're a little later. I'm on Atlantic time. They're on Pacific, so we'll have to see how that goes. Before we go, I'll show you my book. Talked about CPP Disability today. Here's my book. I encourage you to get it. You can get a copy of this book. Whoops, not by texting LTD book. That's not going to do it. Let's get rid of that. You'd get it by clicking on, you would get the book by clicking on the link at the bottom below the video. It's a link that goes to all my books. So click on the link down there. It says get the books. Click on that. You'll have an option to download this beginner's guide here. And that's all. I wish you all the best. Hopefully we'll see you tomorrow. If not, I'll be back on Wednesday. And hang in there. Take care.